You've got advanced memory palace problems, and today Don Michael Vickers and I are going to help you solve them. Don is an incredible Canadian memory athlete. I learned so much speaking with him, and also learned from just listening to myself work through whether I understand the shadow or not, and realizing, well, maybe that isn't the shadow technique, but it is something that is definitely going to be worth thinking through, and I hope you enjoy that as well, including some of Don's ideas about how that he makes memory palaces for speed. And then we get into some of the nuances and details about the opposite, which is when you're not in a hurry to memorize information and you have more time, what can you do? What should you do? So you get the best of both worlds. Now I'm going to pull a Sam Harris and do some housekeeping.
Okay, well, there are a variety of housekeeping issues I could engage at the start of this episode.
Because I want to share with you some things that are going on in the magnetic memory method world. So the first thing is that I'm going to release a video as an experiment, which is of a slightly different style than I normally do, but it's also more like an older style that I've done. And that is a video called Aristotle's Nuclear Alphabet. And this will address more of the intermediate and advanced concerns that people using alphabetical memory systems need to figure out. And they're actually pretty simple, but Aristotle wrote in a kind of confusing way. And I'll show how some of the best Aristotle scholars just don't see it the way I see it because they don't use memory techniques or even art of combination, which I believe that probably this in Aristotle's writing on memory is the earliest instance of the art of combination as we know it today. Maybe it's not the earliest, but it's pretty early, and it's something that I'm going to help figure out, and at least as I've understood it. Or maybe I've totally misunderstood it, but I think it's pretty clear and obvious when you think about it through the lens of the art of combination. So that's the first thing. The second thing is that I am working hard on a follow-up to Flyboy, my detective novel about David Williams, who has PTSD, early cognitive decline, and is working with memory techniques in order to heal his brain, preserve his memory, and just have a good old time in life because depression sucks. Anyway, for those of you who have been following the project, and a lot of people have been emailing me, when's the next one and so forth, I realized that these mega novels don't necessarily have to take years to reach you with a new story. So I've started to write short stories that happen in between the novels. So if you're interested in some advanced notification, I'm getting close to finishing Conjuring Confessions and putting it out there. And like Flyboy, it has a study guide, and then there'll be another one called Undertaking Overwhelm, and I've got lots of ideas for different stories, and basically these are just mini adventures that come with mini study guides that teach you more about the memory techniques that the detective himself is learning to use, and they play in maybe a little bit of a corny way. I don't know, it's up to you, but I'm aware of a gimmick sort of level that I'm playing at here, but it's fun, and I hope you find it fun as well. And some early readers of Conjuring Confessions have thought that it also is quite fun. So just working out how that we can follow this detective as he's learning these memory techniques, but not wait for yet another mega novel, because the sequel to Flyboy Vitamin X is another big story because it's really advanced memory techniques that he's getting into to solve the Vitamin X case, right? And anyway, I want to do art, and I want to have these stories be really, really fun, the novels be really deep and engaging and take you on a mental adventure, and also move towards this big kicker ending.
Flyboy. Anthony, you outdone yourself this time. I had so much fun reading this, not only because I love memorizing, but also that it reignited a lot of joy that I had in reading stories, and I was following along and enjoyed it, and it felt like a video game in my mind going through this book. I think that the motivation I had going through the book to memorize kind of transformed my mind in many different ways that I didn't even notice. One is my approach to memorization just became more fun. Number two, I found myself thinking about memory in a whole different way. And I don't think I would have ever gotten that if I wouldn't have read this book. I'm so excited about the design. I love the design. And I also love that this is part of a series, and I cannot wait to read more. But you outdid yourself this time, brother. A+.
So some of these short stories are coming, and I need to make audiobooks of all the short stories, and the study guides are true study guides. You can actually follow the steps and repeat some of the things that the detectives are doing, because the rule in each and every one of these books is that they only include memory techniques that actually work in real life. Anyhow, if you don't know what the heck I'm talking about and you're interested in learning through stories, go to magneticmemorymethod.com/NS. You can start the journey with a bit of Flyboy, and you'll be on a notification list for everything that has to do with the Memory Detective project, including future games. And I've also almost got the next game ready to go for you, but I'm not going to be in a hurry to rush these things out, because I want them to be things that you absolutely love and enjoy, with the depth and clarity of what I'm hoping to bring to Aristotle's nuclear alphabet. So that's my housekeeping.
Housekeeping issues.
And without further ado, let's solve some of those advanced memory palace problems that you may be facing, with some ideas that you might not have heard before that you can get started with immediately. Don, great to speak with you again. And just by way of opening, what does it feel like to receive these medals from places afar in your memory competition life?
It's been pretty cool, to compete with all these people across the world and get to know them. It's pretty amazing. Recently in the World Championship, they're competing against Yasuhira Yamaguchi and Evelina Press from Poland, we're actually really good friends. But it was a fun experience, and I had the tournaments there, in the online tournaments hosted by Russia there, and that was a good experience to meet those people as well.
So what is that like, to be friends with people and go to battle? What emotions are involved, and what kind of mental management do you have to do when you're friends but you want to win?
Honestly, I think that I have a pretty good focus. So once I think something shifts there. Once I'm friendly before the match, but once the names or the cards or whatever it is pops up, that's my focus. I'm not thinking about the person on the other side.
Well, how would you frame your interest in this? I mean, it looks like you're wearing a sort of sports jersey. And for me, even though I'm Canadian and I grew up with hockey and baseball and lacrosse and all this sort of stuff, I just never have even understood sports. I've certainly had fun watching them with family and so forth, but maybe there's something broken in my DNA or whatever, but I don't have that sort of competitive interest, or even the interest in watching competition. So what is that like how would you describe it as an interest? Does it have words, or is it just a mystery to you in the same way it's a mystery to me that I don't have it?
No, I would be on the total opposite end of the spectrum as you on that one. But I used to play a lot of hockey, and then basically, so I'm blind in my right eye, so I can't really play hockey in the same way that I used to. So when I had discovered this is kind of filling that competitive itch, I guess you could say. And I kind of enjoy the challenge of it. Like when you're going up against, like, say, Simon Reinhardt, it's like, how do I possibly overcome this? I haven't done that yet, by the way, but it's like, how do you overcome this great challenge, right? So, and every competitor, they all have a little bit different strengths and weaknesses, right? So to kind of prepare for that, like Yan Zhan, he's amazing at images. So if I play him, I'm trying to become really fast at images. And like other people, if it's close in names, I might try to really become strong there. So it is, I guess that's one way I would consider the opponents is, I do look at their strengths and weaknesses, but I'll have a lot of fun doing that. Coming up with a plan, that's fun. But there's actually, like, there's nothing I enjoy more than memorizing words. So I just have a blast with it.
Okay, well, I want to hear more about this eye, if you care to share, and the plan. But first, what is it to memorize words, and how do you think and frame this, because really numbers are words, but most competitors or many competitors tend to use a different system. But technically, 99 is 2 words.
Yeah.
How do you sort of conceive of these things in your own mind?
Well, for me right now, it's slightly different because I'm still using a 2-digit system. So for me, a numbers, the first number is going to be a person. So when I'm doing words, though, however, the other thing with it is it's something different every time. Like you can't make an image for every word. There's too many words, right?
And too many syllables in certain words.
Yeah, and like that's one of the challenges with international names, which I actually really enjoy. That's probably my second best event. But it's sort of like reading a book to me. Like when I see the pair of words, I'm just instantly forming an image, and that's what I go with. And I'll look twice. So I'm actually trying to not really think too much in words, and I'm just going with it and reacting more so than thinking. And it's like experience. It's sort of like reading a fiction novel to me.
That's interesting. So if I throw out something like Frenes Empedoi,
what is that?
I'll say it again, but if I throw out something like that, how do you read it in an auditory manner, and does it change anything if I say Frenes Empedoi? Or I probably better pronounce it Frenus Empedoi. I'm not sure. My ancient Greek is in development, as always.
Yeah, no, that'd be a tricky one. I don't know what that means, but if I see the word, so I would see like free, and that's what I'm gonna go with. Ness. I think it's something like Ness or Noise, and then I think of like when I played Super Smash Brothers, a character Ness. So free Ness. Empedoi kind of sounds like empty, and he's got like an empty box or something.
Right. Yeah, I just wanted to throw that out there for people to get a sense of what we're talking about, who are maybe not familiar with how this level of association works. But yeah, very good images. By the way, that is an ancient Greek phrase that has to do with the idea that you let your mind guide your feet. And they used to think that the mind was in the belly. So,
okay, and that's I guess sort of similar to my approach to it, because I think with words, like people ask me all the time, it's like, what's your image for this word? Like I don't really have one. Right. And I think it's a mistake they're making with some people when they're asking me that, because they're kind of limiting their creativity with it. Like that, I just want to let it go, right? Because if I like make an image for each word, then it's starting to lose its uniqueness. And I'm not just memorizing one word, I'm memorizing 2. So I'm memorizing a pair at a time. So it's not, I'm making an image out of the combination of the 2 words, not just one word.
Right. So let's get more into the techniques, but just let's cover our basis here. When you said, the planning, really, if I understood you, the planning to go to compete is as fun as the competition, or you have fun with the planning. What are you doing to plan? Is it just studying previous records, or what goes on there?
So one thing I'll do is, like, my opponent I know Yasuhiro, so he played against somebody else from Japan, Siyaka Hokazano. I hope I pronounced that right. So she has very similar stats to me as far as numbers and cards go. So I was curious of how fast I expected Yasuhiro to go. So I looked up what he did against her because what he would do against, like, say, Simon, Alex, or Andrea is completely different to what he would do against me, where I'm a bit slower in those events. So, or I'll look up, Katie's a little bit similar to me. She's a little bit faster in cards, but I'll look up like what they do against Katie in numbers. And that gives me a good idea. Or I might, so for names or international names, I'm pretty even in both. So usually I make my decision there based upon my opponent. Or if I'm tired, actually, I find that international names, I struggle a little bit if I'm tired. But not like regular names, I find I can pretty much get out of bed and I can be okay.
Well, we were talking beforehand about you flying around all over the place for your work, and I mean, how do
Yeah.
you not be tired when it sounds like your work is quite intense and you're flying on top of that to get to work? How do you even manage to do what is quite intensive mental work? Well, I mean, it's fun, but
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I sleep amazing on planes.
yeah,
Like
okay.
when I'm on a plane, I am out. Because it was interesting for the one of the tournaments last year, the qualifiers for the Pan American. I actually played a match at 4 a.m. in the airport,
Oh, really?
and yeah, that was quite the experience. I did okay with it because I'm used to like training when there's some distractions. I train sometimes. If I'm not asleep on the plane, I'll train on the plane. Um, so yeah, that's one thing. I actually think it's good to train when we're not at our best because there's going to be matches when I'm a little bit tired or don't have my best stuff.
Right. So are you training primarily online, or will you carry a physical deck of cards, or is it is something else?
Yeah, pretty much all online. Although I do have an app on my phone where I do cards and numbers,
Okay. Uh,
but I haven't touched a physical deck in a while. Maybe I should. That'd be something different.
yeah, I'm curious about that because I don't know the extent that it matters or the extent that you use these techniques in everyday life, but certainly in some areas there's context dependent memory. So for language
Yeah,
learners, they'll often be inside of apps, and I've met them at polyglot conferences and whatnot, and they'll say, "Oh, well, I've got all the bells and the whistles and the prizes and the awards and the medals and all that sort of stuff, but I can't speak the language except for answering questions inside of the app." And that's a kind of
yeah.
context dependent memory. So I don't know
Yeah,
if you
and
have
I
any
do
of
think
that.
it's slightly similar. Like the last time I memorized a deck, I was averaging like 36 to 37 seconds online. But when I had done a physical deck, I did it in 44 seconds. So I was just a little bit slower there.
Yeah, I remember years ago, Phil Chambers telling me, this is before online competition software. He said, really, the thing that is going to happen is that people aren't going to be able to break the speed of their hands to move cards around. So
Yeah.
the way to break those records is going to be an application that can move the cards faster than the hand, basically, which totally makes sense. And that's just such an interesting thing about how competition works, because people just seem to get better and better and better and better. But in this case, it needed to be released from the physical medium to, or at least that's what I understand, in order to start to even break those records that people could do moving cards around in their hands.
Yeah, and I'm curious to see where that goes. Like, I'm actually mind blown by the physical records, not just for how amazing the speeds are, but I think they're around like 13 seconds. Like, I'm amazed that there's not 52 cards on the ground at that point, just trying to move them all. Like, that's not just the memory that's incredible there. Like, you've got to have quite the dexterity with that.
Mm. So you mentioned your eye.
Yeah.
Is there a story behind that? Is that recent or a long time ago, or?
No, it's 2019.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Work
So,
related or hockey?
no, it was just kind of strange how I thought I actually had something in my eye. Like I noticed some blurriness, and I was in Thunder Bay at the time, and ended up going to see just go to see an optometrist there, and then he covered my left eye, and then I couldn't see anything, and I thought he had covered both. But then I had a detached retina. We did a couple of surgeries, and I ended up getting the retina reattached, but I didn't get the function out of it.
Oh, wow. So has that been personally challenging at all, or just something you've been able to cope with, or?
I'm able to cope with it pretty well. I'm still able to drive, although my coworkers would probably disagree with that, especially backing up. But yeah, I'm still allowed to drive.
Well, that's cool. I didn't know how all that works. Does it affect memorizing from from the competition software at all, or?
I'm not really sure. I mean, I'm still able to do quite well. So I don't think it's been a massive difference.
I'm a little bit super fascinated by it because in a detective novel I wrote about a detective who learns memory techniques
Yeah.
in order to basically keep his job. His mentor is blind. He's the world's only blind memory champion.
Oh,
And
wow.
a lot of that character is based on a combination of a couple of people, one of whom is a guy here in Australia named Jared Guzzins, who is like a very successful entrepreneur who's flown planes and won dance competitions and all kinds of stuff. And then another part of the composition is Richard Turner, who's a magician who he lost his sight when he was quite young. And both of these people are really interesting because they don't want to be defined by that, and nor should they be.
Yeah.
But at the same time, just being as one is, or as I am, like there's something really astonishing to watch Richard Turner do world-class magic and know that he's like he just asks people, is this the seven of diamonds? And they're like, yes. He said, you can tell me if it's not, but I want to make sure I got it right, and he himself, has to rely on all kinds of basic card mechanics with this extra touch that he has. I mean,
That's crazy, actually. Yeah.
I don't know if he still does it, but for a period of time in his career, he was the quality control person for bicycle cards because his touch is so fine that, he can basically tell whether a deck is well done or not. Anyway, I because I wrote this character.
So it's almost like he developed the extra sense of touch almost.
Yeah, and there's a documentary about him. There's actually two documentaries now. There's like an official one. I think it was called Dealt, and then there's some people who came to interview him, and it's on his YouTube channel, and it's just really great. Anyway, and that's why I kind of got super fascinated with that, and I didn't know that before you told me.
Yeah, well, I mean, my left eye's still good, so I don't notice. I don't know. Maybe I would be like 0.2 seconds fast or something, or maybe a little bit more accurate, but it's hard to say, right? But yeah, my left eye is fine, so I'm able to do all these with not really any issues.
Well, there's always auditory should something go awry. Knock on wood, and I wouldn't
Yeah,
hope that, but
hopefully not, because I actually really struggle that way. Like compared to my peers, because I have done spoken numbers in the past, and that's actually something I struggle a lot with is spoken numbers.
Yeah, that seems to me super challenging. Spoken language is one thing, but just because of how number techniques work, or at least as I use them, that certainly seems pretty challenging. So
yeah,
maybe segue into that, say a bit more. You mentioned you would use a person for the first number. Maybe just start from scratch. Like, what is a number system for memorizing strings of digits?
So for me, I use person action, and this is actually very common. Like the Japanese use simpler systems as well. So if I get like 0505, so that's me. And like my thing's a deck of cards, so I'll be like shuffling a deck of cards. So if I see 0505, that's what I'd see. Once I forgot myself, I scored a 78 and I forgot 05. I was like, wow, I forgot myself. That's not good.
Well, these things happen, right? I mean,
yeah.
In many cases, it's not how much you get correct, it's how little you get wrong, right?
Yeah, maybe my face is too boring. I don't know.
So how did you construct yourself? What's the underlying mechanics of it?
So this is basically like the same system as like when I started. So I would probably change it. I wouldn't really take my advice too much on this. So basically like the first six are family members in chronological order. Like 10 to 20, that is like sports athletes. So I just like base it in like categories.
Right. Okay. So
then I have like,
there's no major system underlying it.
no, there isn't actually. Although I am working on that now for 3 digit, because I just especially after this world championship where numbers and cards were really bad for me. Like I lost every numbers game that I played. So that's just a little frustrating. So it's like, okay, that's the weakness. Let's adapt.
So is there a reason you would want a 3-digit system as opposed to like a 00 to 99 PAO?
There's a couple things there. So I just think with making 18, like I go through 18 different locations and I grab the last 8 numbers. So for me, I just think going through 13, I think there'll be fewer errors for me because I make a lot of errors in numbers. And just like as I get older, I'm not sure I'll be able to go as fast as I can go now. So like right now, like doing my absolute best, I can go over like 25 seconds. So I'm not sure I'd be able to like keep up that pace. So I want to not just adapt this for now, but adapt this for the future. And if I do, if I go into more traditional, more classic, then I think it would just be easier and it would take up, I would need to create less locations, be able to practice a little bit more with the 3 digit compared to 2.
Right. Well, I don't compete, but what I can tell you is that in my own practice, I've never been better. You know, I have really bad health days, but when things are good, even on my bad health days, I'm better than I used to be. So age seems to not be necessarily a factor, or even chronic health issues, etc. So
Yeah.
far. So
And I am curious on that because I mean, and they're not really old, but like Simon is in his 40s and he's getting better. And so I'm not sure how much of an impact that'll be, to be honest with you, but I do know it could potentially be a thing. So, but yeah, some of them like are getting better now.
Yeah. I think it has a broader lifestyle factor as well, as opposed to just the raw training. But certainly in competitions, you see an age distribution that kind of flattens out, at least in the ones that I've followed, with more senior competitors not necessarily keeping up with younger people. But that doesn't mean that it has to be that way. I don't think. I think there's just many factors that would go into it, including training and perhaps developing systems, as opposed to sticking with old favorites, for example.
Yeah.
Because probably whatever was happening in the early days of the competition isn't going to stand against the shadow, easily, if at all. I'm sort of guessing there, but it seems to me that there's just so many advantages to the shadow in terms of just speed and probably volume.
Yeah, and I think besides Andrea, in terms of speed, like I don't know too much on the classical side, but as far as things are going on Memory League, typically the top performers are using the shadow system or something similar. So yeah, that's also an area to improve, and that'll be something I look at after I get the numbers down.
Yeah, it took me
a while because it's worked
very
well for Braden.
It took me a while to wrap my head around exactly what the shadow is supposed to be, but Braden was very helpful in me finally figuring it out. And I can see applications in card magic, which is typically what I'll use a memorized deck for. And so right now, one of my projects is I always used a particular stack called the Tamari stack. And now I'm exploring some other stacks. And I want to be able to work with multiple stacks. And the shadow totally makes sense for having multiple stacks, if I'm understanding the shadow correctly.
So what exactly are you doing with the stacks?
Okay. So for example, with this deck I've been waving around.
Yeah.
I haven't finished placing a number for every single card in here, but I can estimate, right? So for example, the 26th card in here is the King of Diamonds. And from there, I could say, okay, then the 29th has to be the 8 of diamonds, right? And because I know the 29th, then I can figure out these other things. So I don't want to give away magic secrets, but basically if I was in a position, I've never trained to be able to do magic tricks very well on a computer or whatever. But if I was standing and I were to say to you, name a card, and you would say whatever, I can do. Well, I give away too many magic secrets, but anyway, I can have your card appear in a place. You just say a number, and then between 1 and 52, and that card will be there. But it basically involves knowing the numbers of all the cards, being able to do an estimation count, which can involve. I might as well just show you.
So it's kind of like a preset, like a deck, and you've memorized the order of the deck.
Exactly. So
Okay.
if I say, I've just been able to pick up 4 cards, right? And I know it's 4 because I did a particular thing with my hands that is hidden,
Okay.
right? And I can talk and count through as many cards as I need to. And as long as I'm counting and I know the number that I've counted to, I can either estimate or I can deliberately count to a card where I know its position. But I'm going to add a number to each and every one. I'm just not doing it overnight because I'm exploring the next deck, which is going to use the shadow. So as I understand the shadow, it's like an opposite of the core image, right? So if one thing is ketchup, the other thing is mustard. Is that so? Like 0-8.
As far as I understood it from Braden, it's like if the first, it would actually be 2 of the same images. But if the first one is red, then he goes to his next location, and that's how he knows if it's red or black. So you would have like the same image for like 2 different. I mean, Braden could explain it better than me, but let's just say if it was, I don't know, let's say 4 of hearts, 9 of clubs, and then it would be like the same if it was like 4 of clubs, 9 of hearts. I could be wrong on this, but it means the red one means stop, go to the next location. So he would know. He would know the suit on his recall if he goes to the next location or not.
Okay, maybe I didn't understand it, but it gave me an idea anyway.
You'll have to bring Braden back.
Yeah. Well, at least what I understood gave me an idea to
there you go
work out alternate stacks. Because the way I was going to do it is, and I haven't memorized another stack, but there's a Joyal stack that I want to memorize, for example. And I'd have to look at, I think the first card is 6 of clubs. So wherever the 6 of clubs is in here, which I actually think must be the 50th card. Yeah, I think it's the 50th card. There's the 6 of clubs. Right?
Yeah, good job.
So the 6 of clubs is 50 here. If it's the first one in the Joyal stack, I'm not sure if it is, but let's just say that it is. Then that image is going to become the opposite in that deck. So rather than use the same image that I have for this, it will be the opposite image, and then just use another memory palace or what have you, and have a number signature. That's what I thought of being the shadow, but maybe that's more of negative photography or something. I don't know. maybe it'll be a different technique in the end, but that's what I thought that was an application out of that general idea.
No, but maybe you've stumbled upon something though that works for you. So that's interesting.
In the magic world, many magicians are very not into mnemonics. They really would just want to use some sort of rote to get their decks down. There's arguments about it. If you read the magic books on mem deck work, it's called, there's just endless arguments about how mnemonics is a waste of time and blah, blah, blah. I don't get it.
No, I could see how that could benefit you greatly.
It took me less than maybe a minute and a half to memorize this, It's just a matter of adding the numbers.
Like I've seen some where they just, like, I don't do it myself, but like I've seen them that they know this like deck of cards, but it's sort of memory techniques where they've already memorized it beforehand, and they can be like, okay, this is this card, because they know the order and they can shuffle it somehow to create that order. Or it's like a false shuffle or something. I've seen things like that.
Oh yeah, well the false shufflers are one thing, but it's really the estimation count that fries people, right? Because so you can do what I did, which is just I just counted 4 randomly, but you can do any number with this kind of thing. Now, normally I'm not going to have my hand exposed like this, but last time I did 4. Let's try. Lost count there, maybe 7, right? So that's not an estimation count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. That's just actually literally counting. But the cool thing that really fries people's minds, because there's really no way to reverse engineer this, is an estimation count, which is just something like this. Then you look at that, that's where you, oh, sorry. I'm just going to give away magic secret here, but like one thing that you kind of do is you can just get a glimpse of what that card is, right? Just by tapping on the table or whatever. And then you'll know where you cut. They said a particular card, where you cut, you just do math, and then you can do a shuffle that's not even fake. It's just literally shuffling it, but you're shuffling yourself into position. Anyway, it's very hard to reverse engineer when people are doing that level of magic, but it's memorized deck plus calculation.
Okay.
And some people don't like to do the calculation work, and no doubt, because it's not that easy, especially when you're talking, you're moving and all that sort of stuff. But it's great mental practice.
Yeah, I'm more intimidated by the shuffling part. When I did do physical decks before, and maybe this is why I don't do it. I'm a terrible shuffler. Like I had recorded because we had like the CMSA challenge, and then I ended up just going twice. So it's like an honorary challenge, because I was going through the deck and it was like ace, 2, 3, 4, 5, and I was like, wait a second here. This is not good. I'm gonna like show this on recall and it's gonna be all the same thing. And I was just like, I ended up really shuffling, but I'm a terrible shuffler. I used to have one of those little you'd put like half the deck on one side, half the deck on the other. It would do it for me. And maybe I need to get that again if I want to go back into physical decks.
Yeah. Well, look up Leonard Green. Leonard Green has a great TEDx, or it's probably a full TED, and he shuffles so badly it's not even funny. But I think he's using Galbraith principle, and he basically can make it look like the sloppiest shuffle in the world. So Leonard Green, I think, is spelled Lennart.
Oh, okay.
Green. Sorry if I
okay. I heard it like Leonard.
I know this is an interesting memory issue, right? I mentioned Jared Guzzins, and if people look for him, he's been on my podcast. They might try to spell it like Jared or whatever, and they'll go.
That's how I would do it. Yeah.
They'll never find him though, because for whatever reason it's spelled Gerard, but you call him Jared, right? And so this is always a thing that I have in name demonstrations that I give, and maybe you have experiences like this where someone will. I've heard people say, Graham, and I hear William just because it's a crowded bar or whatever.
Oh, okay.
Or whatever. Like there's just
that last syllable is the same, even though it's different at the start. Yeah.
And you kind of have to point out, well, I got the yam part, but now I'll have William Shakespeare throwing a yam at something, at a graham cracker. That would be the most direct image, right? But that sort of happens. But how do you does that happen to you ever, where you miscall things or you mishear things?
So I did do a little. So I was with CBC there the other day, and we did do a little demonstration, but I haven't done much like this. But so they just gave me 10 words, and one I guess I was sort of right, sort of wrong, but they said philosophy, but I thought it was philosopher,
right?
Because I just heard it wrong at the end. But I'm not used to doing too much there audioly, but it could be a good discipline too, but I think that would be the issue with the discipline is a lot of people would hear things wrong.
Yeah, I get that even with reading. Like when I play around with one of the softwares, I'll sometimes have something like philosophy or philosopher get that mixed up. And I think that's because I front load my images too much and don't worry about the end syllable. But often it's the end syllable that gets you in the end if you don't.
Yeah, and I mean it's something that's tricky, right? Or the form, it can be tricky. So yeah, I see that too.
So how do you deal with that psychologically? I mean, I know that in the past, I've sometimes given demonstrations and beat myself up for days if I've made I mean, I've had 99.9% correct, and there's that one little slip
Yeah.
that no one cares about. Everybody's forgotten except for me, and I'm just like, oh damn! Like I don't. It doesn't bother me anymore, but it used to torture me. How do you? What's your experience with that?
The key for me that I find uh, lowers that mistake is that the fact that I review.
Mm,
So, like when we do words in memory league, we get 1 minute to look at 50. So, at around the 34th word, I will start to review. And then I just hope that if I see it twice, I'll make like a little mental note. Okay, it's instead of it's beginning, not begin, or that's probably a bad example because of how large it is, but like one is handcuff or handcuffs,
mm,
right? So just make a little note. Okay, it's plural.
right. So after your CBC review or interview, now I'm dropping entire syllables. After your CBC interview, you were able to just walk away with that without,
I wasn't. I understood why it happened. I just didn't hear well.
right, right. Yeah, was it on over the phone, which maybe gave distortion
No,
or
that was it was just like this, basically.
yeah. Yeah. Well, in any case, that's cool if you're able to let it go. It took me way too long to learn how to let those things go.
Yeah, I think she understood it too. So yeah, I mean, it wasn't like I completely missed the word. I just misheard her.
Right, right.
But that's something that does happen to me often. At a lot of the times, I'll make a mistake is at the very end, actually, like just because we put the last four into short-term memory. Typically, we put the last four into short-term memory, but sometimes I'm going a little bit too fast there, and I'll misread one.
Right, right. Yeah, misreading is an issue for sure. But do you ever have the opposite experience where, I mean, I guess if you don't do physical cards, then maybe not. But I remember talking with Brad Zupp some years ago, and I don't even know him, but there's this weird thing that I've had sometimes working with decks of cards where if a timer is on and you're timing yourself, you really don't have time to encode the last couple of them, but you'll still get them correct. Have you ever had that sort of effect? And do you have an awareness of it? Because I've often wondered, is it that it's just somehow the mind is calculating it out of likelihood based on what you did memorize, or you just weren't aware of encoding it and you encoded it anyway? I'm not sure if you've had that experience.
I don't encode the last four cards.
No, no.
No, so I just the last four cards is short-term memory, but the rest of them I will encode. The ones that would give me some issues, and I actually saw this when I was just watching a match the other day. So I noticed there was 3 4s in a row. That would be I would have a little bit of trouble with something like that. See, especially where I use PAO, is seeing like 3 4s in a row, and that would mess me up. And sometimes I'll see like four of diamonds, and I think I see four of hearts, and then I get it, and it's like, I just saw four diamonds twice, and then I'll be in recall. It's like, oh no, and then it's just 50%.
Right. And in some of those things you are involved in, you're using multiple decks, so you will get two of four of a diamond, four of diamonds. Is that the case, or am I thinking of
I don't do
something
too
else?
much with multiple decks. Like
Oh,
I
okay.
typically just do the one, but you would have, but it would be two separate decks, right? So not really a big issue.
Right.
Though Braden tells me about this event on, I think it's Memo Camp.
Mm,
So he basically gets like a set number of cards, but they could be any card. So when you're putting it back, you don't have like the because sometimes you know how it is yourself. Sometimes you're like stuck on one, but then you kind of figure it out because there's like only like 6 cards left, and then you can look at them and figure it out. So that's kind of like one of the cool challenges with that as well. But Braden would have to see multiple of the same images.
yeah. Wild.
Yeah.
I can't even imagine some of the like the Dave Farrow Guinness World Record stuff where he's got 50 plus cards or 50 plus decks, however much that he did.
Yeah.
That would be
And I think he
so
only
much
made
repetition.
one error, right?
It was one or two, but yeah, but let's call it one.
Crazy.
We'll be charitable, as if
Like,
we need to be for something like that.
like
No, that's
I can't
amazing.
imagine. I like he has to have a lot of palaces too. But to have that precision, yeah, that's incredible. I couldn't imagine.
Well, let's talk about
I
that.
I haven't done much with long memory really.
Mm.
I've done like mostly short term.
Yeah, we say, have to have lots of palaces. And some people are like that. They're like, wow, that must be so many memory palaces. And I just think, yeah, and I mean, they're everywhere.
Yeah.
But
And hey, I've actually improved that quite a bit.
yeah.
I've made like I'm up to 14 now for words.
Mm.
So,
Well, how
but
do
I mean
you
that's
go
my
about,
favorite.
how do you go about developing yours?
A few different approaches. So, the last one I made was just at work. Sometimes I'll be playing a video game or something. I'll just make one there. And then there's like realtors websites. I got an idea from Katie here. So I showed Katie a little like video because of where I'm from. And then she was like, oh, I'm going to memorize all the NHL teams. And then I was like, okay, so maybe I could use Google Street View and maybe make some palaces out of some places I've never been. Because I mean, I'm used to using like palaces, realtors websites. I've done that a few times.
And you don't
So
find that you have to just memorize the journey and then use it, as opposed to using a place that you've pre-memorized? Like, isn't that an additional step, or you find that just
I
works
don't
out
find a
fine?
big issue for me. So typically, what I'll do is instead of memorizing for 1 minute, I'll just go 2 minutes, take my time, and
Right.
then I'll try like normal.
Right. Well, that sports team thing is interesting. Would it not work? I don't know enough about hockey to say, but would it not work out to have that team in a rink and use at least part of the team's starting positions in the game where they are on the ice, and then where the team parts of the team that aren't playing, where they're sitting, just use that as a memory palace for teams? Or is it that you want to add
I think she just
stats and stuff?
memorized like who the teams are.
Oh, like the actual names of the teams, not the.
Yeah,
Oh, I see. Okay, right.
but it gave me an idea. I was like, okay, maybe I'll make one out of Katie's hometown. Maybe I'll make one out of yours or Braden's or someone. So that'd be cool, right? Because I may not have been there, but now I can at least have a memory palace there.
Right, right. Yeah, I haven't really done that. I mean, I've tried it, and I just thought, what am I doing in this real estate software, memorizing a journey when
Yeah.
I haven't even tapped out half the streets where I live, like not even close.
I've
Uh,
actually found like video games have been very well actually. And the performance is no different to me performing in real life because actually it's one thing I've been doing lately is I track the performance of the palace and I really don't notice any difference in the performances of my palace unless it's like a new one I'm using and okay, this isn't a good palace, like this turn is bad or something like that. But I haven't noticed any difference in the performances.
so when you're saying video game, are you talking about like a single screen platform game, or are you talking about
Kind
moving
of like
through?
open world would
Okay.
be, yeah, kind of like an open world. Because a lot of time that's like my favorite thing to do. Rather than just keep it to a building, I like to go outside and I'll just there's one I'll tell you about. So like my palace in North Sydney, Nova Scotia. So I start out at the like a set of traffic lights, and I go Canadian Tire parking lot. Then I go to Canadian Tire. Then they have an oil tank. Then I go to the Ultramar. Then I go to Home Hardware. Then I go to Tim Hortons. Right, and I just keep continuing throughout the town through different like locations, different stores in the town. And sometimes I just like that more, even though like the accuracy is the same. I just like, yeah, I feel like I can almost like do more with like the bigger palace.
And will you go inside the Tim Hortons and use parts of the menu board, or you're just using the outside of it?
Just the outside.
And are you segmenting the outside, or is Tim Hortons just one space?
It's just one space. And then I go to the next space.
Okay. That's interesting. I would tend to segment it. So if I was at Tim Hortons in, I don't know, Brampton, Ontario or something that I used to pass by, assuming it's still there, I would tend to like have at least 3 columns, and I would go 1, 2, 3 on the right side of the building, 1, 2, 3 on the middle, and 1, 2, 3 on the left side, and maybe cubify that if you can walk around it, or you have 2 sides. So potentially turn the outside into 9. But if there's 2 doors, one, you know how often they have a door on each side, or like in a Wendy's, you might have doors on either side.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. The Tim Hortons Wendy's combo.
Yeah. You can walk in, use the inside, walk out the other side, and then use that outside, cross the street, and go off whatever's across the street with the gas station or what have you.
And I think that that's a good idea. Like if I'm, and maybe it'd be better for long term, but with Memory League, I want to go as fast as I can. So I want to keep the locations. I want to have some separation. So that's why I don't do it like that. But if I was just using it for studying where I don't have to worry about speed, then I want to get as many locations as I can. So then I would do something like that. I would have like the different corners. I would go inside. But here I want to keep it simple. I want to keep it fast. So I want them separated.
Maybe I got to try something like that, because this might be why I'm slower on the competitions, is because I tend to, like, I would do, or sorry, not the competition, but training software.
Yeah.
I would tend to have 3 words at a time. And instead of moving from one large space, like one space in front of a Tim Hortons, I would do that. I would platform it. So we've got 9 words on a pillar grouped in 3s, or maybe 2s, depending on what I'm using. This is the software that Katie's involved in that I normally use. IAM, is it called? And so I'll do 2s or 3s. I like to switch between the both. But maybe that's
okay. That's interesting. I don't think I haven't seen too many people do 3.
Yeah, well, I mean, it has cost benefits, but the reason why I do it is because it just gives, first of all, variety is the spice of challenge, if not life. And
for sure,
so switching between the 2 certainly gives a nice effect. But also, what it ultimately comes down to is, what is the distribution of words? And so one thing that I find challenging about maybe not all softwares, but certainly this one, is that if you play with it enough, you're going to get the same words quite frequently. It's not, it doesn't have that big of a database or a pool, let's say. And so that's one reason why I like to switch, because it will give more arrangements the more that you switch back and forth, even if you're getting words again and again. But what I like about what you're saying is that I might be able to speed up, because I often think that it's because I don't actually visualize that I'm slower.
That's right. Yeah.
So
I forgot about that.
I do visualize now, but it's not reliable, and I find it kind of distracting. So I still go for other association modes. But anyway, it really is not that one is better than the other, but it might be better if I do what you're saying, which is just one word, this place. But then how do you, or do you need to at all, connect the 2 spaces if they're that vastly separated? You don't need to connect them, or?
So I would put like 2 words on the Tim Hortons wall. Okay. Right. So that'd be like if it's frog wheel, I'll see like a frog spinning a wheel on the Tim Hortons wall. Then I'll go over to there's like a parking lot for a bar on the next side. That's my next one. Then I go to a gas station. Then I come over to a pizza shop. But the other thing, how do you find for swaps? Like, do you often confuse the locations because they're so close?
For swaps? I'm not sure.
Like, do you often confuse the order because do you have any issues with that? Because I think that's something that, if I had the locations close, I'm afraid that might happen.
That can happen, but it happens less often than you would think, because the way I'm doing it, whether it's 1 or 2 or 3, I actually don't do 1 that often, but I also do a lot of long term. So I'm often doing sentences that are even more than 3 words in my long term work. So like something in Sanskrit, like idam, shriram, kaunteya, kshetram, iti, apidyate, that's all on one station, right?
Okay.
And so I'm quite used to doing long things, but the way that works, so I don't confuse the word order, is that it's like person, action, object fused into one thing as much as possible. So if it's frog, wheel, chicken or whatever, right? The frog's going to throw a wheel at the chicken.
At the chicken. Okay.
But
So it's almost like PAO.
It is, except
like
for I just don't require it to follow that specific structure. I'm very fluid with what is what, right? But also, I'm not going to think about frog, wheel, chicken. I'm going to have the Warner Brothers Toad, who also happens to be my 11, very specifically. Now, that's Toad, not frog, but it's not really going to cause an issue. And it's not going to be just any wheel. I'm probably going to think of the Catherine wheel, right? And then it's not going to be any chicken, but it's probably going to be another Warner Brothers chicken, or you know, I'll try as much as I can to try to think of a specific chicken, and that already helps fix the order. Now, if we're going like platform game style on the frontispiece of Tim Hortons, it's possible that I can actually have that chicken now go down to the next platform and help kick that off. But I don't always do it that way. Sometimes I'll do. It just sort of depends. But I will sometimes get the order wrong for sure. And that's frustrating, but usually I can reverse engineer what I did. And the worst thing is that if there's no link between the two, then that last word often is subject to dropping off and not really recalling what it is, because it wasn't tamped down or connected with the other things. But maybe if I just do more like what you're saying, just pairs in more isolated situations, I would speed up.
Yeah, I mean, it's worked for me personally. And the big thing is, like, I don't mix, like, I might swap, like I said, frog wheel there. Like, I might go on recall, I might put wheel frog. Like, that would be a common mistake, but I can't recall like the last time I confused two separate locations, unless I'm going like doing a super fast speed, or like sometimes I'll go like 15 seconds and with the auto advance, but then I'll make that sort of mistake. But when I'm doing it normally, I don't confuse a location too often.
Yeah, I can't say I ever confuse locations. I don't know how that would be possible, but that I don't memorize memory palaces. So has that ever happened to you, or you hear of it happening?
Like I said, if I go like really fast, it can happen. So like I might be like, okay, I put my image for that was supposed to be at Tim Hortons, but I put it at the Home Hardware. Like if you're going really, really fast, or you're doing a speed drill, that's the sort of, I can make that mistake then.
Right. So these are some great kind of coaching and improvement elements. Are there other things that you hear from people that are just sort of common issues, or things where you figured out a fix for yourself that might help people listening to us now?
I think swapping is the big one. And for me, it's because I use two at a time. I really try to make that first word pop a little bit more. Like I make that the dominant word, or it's interacting with the second one. It's more prominent. Like I'll see it more prominently. And yeah, I find that helps me. And that's something I do in images as well. So I try to make like sometimes, let's say if we have like an image of a lake and a building, well then I'll see it like a tsunami, just like the water will just like pop up and take the building out. So like that's something I would see in images, and that's how I would do that. But if it was like I saw the building first, then the lake, then it would just be like the building would be falling into the lake, and then like the water would go everywhere. So it's sort of a similar process in words, really. So really, for me, the words and images disciplines are not that much different.
Really? Oh, that's so interesting. You mentioned earlier you tracked different memory palaces, video games versus, say, Tim Hortons. How did you track them?
So I just like go in Excel because I wanted to note a few different things. Like, do I perform better? So I want to know when I don't perform well, why is that? When I am performing well, is there a reason? Is there what's going on with this. So like I tracked like if I ate well or if I ate poorly that day, if I was fasted, if I exercised. I monitor like, because I'll know myself like how tired I am. And one thing I think that it helped me for memory league is just the two that I noticed were international names and images for me really fall off when I am tired. But words and names, I can pretty much do them in my worst state.
Right.
So, but I didn't find, as far as the palaces go, a massive difference.
Well, I mean, that's super interesting. Maybe I just need to do more with it. Uh, so in terms of, going forward with this, one of the things that came out in the CBC reportage was just the value of community around this. When we touched on that before with this psychological management of your friends that you're now going to try to put under yourself, so to speak. But what is it about this particular community that you find interesting and maybe different than other sports that you know, like hockey? Or is it
Yeah,
very similar?
they're a lot friendlier than like opposing hockey players, that's for sure. Like you're not going to see like Simon Reinhart skate by your bench and trash talk you. But yeah, it's a very friendly group of people. Like you said, it's totally separate for me. Like I'm friends with them all, but during the memorization, I don't think of them. I'm locked in on what I have to do. After the match, hey, GG. But yeah, during it, I'm not focused on them.
So I know
But
that.
yeah,
Go ahead.
like and they're very eager to like. They will give you lots of like tips and that, like Braden and Katie, huge for me, obviously. And Evelina, the one I competed against recently, yeah, she's been really great. And there's one from Japan I compete with. We'll do is her name's Siaka, and we'll just do like really fast names and words against each other. And she's really exceptional, by the way, especially names. And we'll just try for like 30 seconds or so. And I find that really helps because it makes it a lot easier in 1 minute if you practice at 30 seconds.
Right.
The accuracy obviously goes down when you do it in 30 seconds, but when you try that 1 minute, all of a sudden it's kind of like easy mode.
Right. Oh, that's cool. Does it allow you to go less than 30 seconds?
Yeah, but it's not. And actually, recently I've been more like 35 seconds in words than like my top speed's been more like 35 than 30. But names have actually been faster than words lately, which is weird for me. But lately, like my top speed in names is like 25 seconds, but I don't quite have the top-notch accuracy there yet.
Is there a discipline that is not included that you wish would be included?
I think fictional words would be interesting, or like I know Katie would destroy everybody, but we have international names. If we had like international words, I think that would be really fascinating. If you just got like a massive group of words, well, maybe instead of like 50, if we got like 30, and yeah, just in all different languages, because we have it in international names, but why not international words? I think that would be super fun.
Well, if you're interested, I can send you a link. The university that I used to teach at in Germany, they have an online app that produces the Hermann Ebbinghaus nonsense syllables, or Sinnlosen Silben, as they call them.
I would actually really like to do that. I actually did a project on Hermann Ebbinghaus.
Right.
It's on my YouTube. And yeah, so that's a big inspiration for me too. Hermann Ebbinghaus, and I mean, obviously Boris Conrad. Yeah, I would actually really like to do that. That would be super cool. And I think that'd be a cool video too.
Yeah, I think that, I mean, I was able to find it. I was surprised that it was at the university I used to teach at, but I was able to find it because I was searching for what were his Sinnlosen Silben, or for people who don't know German, his senseless syllables or senseless words. And because I can search in German, I found it, and I was like, yes, this is amazing. You can actually do the Ebbinghaus project yourself, but he wouldn't have had that software to generate it for you, which is kind of cool.
Yeah, and I think the closest thing to that is sort of basically international names is basically kind of like nonsense syllables, right? Because we're seeing
They might not think
these
so, but
pairings,
yeah.
right? I know it sounds bad, but we're seeing these like syllables that mostly don't make any sense to me, and I'm trying to turn them into something that does, and then turn them into an image, and it's actually really fun. It's my number two like favorite event to do. Um, but it's always like, how am I going to figure this out? And it's almost like you really have to get creative with it. I enjoy doing that. So I would like to give this, I'd like to give that a go.
Well, thank you very much for doing this and sharing your insights and all that you've learned from doing the competitions and so forth. And, is there anything that you're hoping for in the competitions coming up? Any specific goals, or
I would
you're
like to
tweeting a
break
lot?
I would like to break the words record, which is 43.88 seconds. That's I took 2 attempts in the World Championships. I finished in 36 and 39 seconds, but I got 46 out of 50 on both attempts. So it's something in training. I'll get like 1 in 6, 1 in 7 times. So I would like to break that because I know that it's possible.
Oh, it sounds like a great goal. And I was just about to say, you're tweeting a lot and sharing lots of cool stuff related to different challenges and ways that you're thinking about things. So people can follow you there, and you have a LinkedIn if people want to get in touch.
Yeah, and just my name for my LinkedIn, and my Twitter is DMV Memory. I do some stuff on TikTok too, DMV Memory Tips.
Right. And you have YouTube. So we can have all the links for that stuff. And before we go, any final words of advice that come to mind for people who really want to get into memory sports or just learning mnemonics for other outcomes?
I would say just practice consistently. For me, when I started out, I read Remember It by Nelson Dellis, and it taught me everything I needed to know to get started.
Perfect. That is a very good book indeed.
Yeah, it was probably the best $12 I ever spent.
Right. Is that the only book that you've gone from or learned things from, or are there others that come to mind?
That was it. Yeah, I didn't need like I do have like I have one here, the psychology of memory, and that's more of like a textbook. Actually, I bought it at like a bookstore in PEI. Um, and that like teaches me like different things like interference and all that, and I kind of apply that in training. So that's yeah, I would say that. But the main that teach me about it was Remember It by Nelson Dellis.
Right, right. Yeah, I would second that. Learning about psychology of memory is can be very helpful in terms of mentally framing what exactly is going on and cooking up different exercises for yourself or just shifting your practice. So thanks for mentioning that.
No, for sure. Well, thank you for having me. I really appreciate it. It was fun.
Yeah, likewise. And I hope we can do it again sometime.
All right, anytime. Thank you, Anthony.
Thank you. Take care.
Well, thanks again so much to Don for being on the show. You can follow Don's link to his LinkedIn page and his YouTube channel below, and I hope that you'll get involved in his world. He's also, I think, quite big on TikTok and just doing things to share his journey in the world of memory training, which, the more people who get into it, the more people who share what they're experiencing in their memory world, the more we're going to have this wonderful community where we can share mental adventures, the mental gymnastics that go into playing around with these techniques. And I just haven't yet found a bottom to this well. I just haven't found exactly all of the perfect ways to express and explore this. So again, I hope you'll follow along for the adventures that are coming with new experiments like Aristotle's nuclear alphabet, this video about how he arranged the alphabet in his books, and I think is one of the earliest instances of Ars Combinatoria, and also what I'm exploring with the Memory Detective series of novels that started with Flyboy And I hope you're going to really, really love the games that come and the short stories like Conjuring Confessions and Undertaking Overwhelm. So thank you as always. And you know, with Don, the idea of journaling what you're doing in your memory practice so that you're able to see in more granular detail what's working, what isn't working, that came up in another interview with another memory competitor named Johannes Mallow. He's amazing. He goes into even more detail yet about keeping a memory journal, and you will benefit intensely from that interview. So why not go ahead and stick with me and watch that next. Thanks as always for all your thumbs up, your comments, and until we have a chance to speak again, enjoy the journey with Johannes and keep yourself magnetic.